Good afternoon on this February 18th, Saturday, 2023. We are keeping an eye on a very powerful winter storm by the middle of next week that looks to bring a couple of feet of snowfall for the northern plains with icy conditions for the Great Lakes, and for the Northeast, we're talking about severe weather, strong winds, and flood concerns with some very cold Arctic air that is also anticipated with this incoming winter storm. So taking a look at the European model for Monday afternoon, right around lunchtime for Eastern Standard Time and Central Standard Time, and we are tracking our first snowstorm of the work week. Now, this first one doesn't look to be too strong at all, maybe only 1 to 3 inches of snow for the most part, as this is going to be an Alberta clipper. But what comes next is going to be a lot more significant, potentially devastating than the snowstorm that you see here on the map. So we're going to fast forward this. This gets into the northern Michigan, the Great Lakes, the upper Great Lakes by about 6 in the morning on your Tuesday. That's what the models do indicate here. So this is 72 hours out. So again, not a big storm system at all. Just a little brush by is all you're going to see. But look at what we got going on here. This one is looking a lot more significant. And yes, it is about time that I start kind of hyping this up a little bit, because this is truly a very monstrous type winter storm that develops in the Pacific Northwest. Then it gets into the Great Lakes and the northern plains and the Northeast. This is going to be impacting quite a few people, more than several million, possibly as much as 100 million could be impacted by this. So yes, it's a very impactful system. So that's Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, you can see the system really gets going. Much colder temperatures across California, Nevada, the desert Southwest. It's going to get some of the cooler air eventually into the Pacific Northwest. Much cooler temperatures expected. But look at this. This thing is going to be nasty. By Wednesday morning, right around about 6 to 7 in the morning, Central and Eastern Time, there is your snow. Moderate to heavy snowfall is anticipated over the Four Corners. Montana, if you're in the Dakotas, especially cold air coming in out of the north, you could even see it there. Some snow levels down to the surface and sea level over Oregon, Washington, and even in Northern California. But this is going to get a lot more dynamic before it gets better, especially Wednesday now looks to be one of the worst days that we have seen in quite some time. And I'm not just saying that to hype you all up, to scare you all. Please do not quote me on that, okay? I hate hyping things up, but this is looking significant enough to where I think it's best to kind of step it up a little notch here in our severity weather index. So by the time we go into right around 12 p.m. on Wednesday, this is where you definitely need to pay attention. We are talking about severe weather with this system, especially for the deep south here. We got a cold front that's going to be developing here over Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. This is going to be a big part of the system. Moderate to heavy rainfall and flooding is also anticipated. Strong winds too anticipated with this system, but it doesn't end here. Let's go into about 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Look at this. We got freezing rain over Chicago, over Detroit, Michigan, over northernmost Indiana, northwestern tip of Ohio here. This is very, very significant, okay? You might see as much as 1 to 2 inches of freezing rain, not 1 to 2 inches. Where am I at? A half an inch to maybe an inch of freezing rain and possibly a couple of feet of snowfall. Look at this. California going to get more inclement weather. This continues to become a big problem by 12 a.m. on Thursday. So this is really going to be devastating. Power outages, down trees, strong winds, blizzard conditions. This is a system similar to Winter Storm Tabitha that was really significant for the Northeast and for the Great Lakes. Very similar setup here, only that this is stretched. I mean, this goes all the way from Montana, Wyoming, all the way into the Northeast. So this entire area up here are going to get slammed really hard, and it's going to snow for a while in some areas here, to the point where we could be talking about a lot of snowfall, and we will see a lot of snowfall. Now, I just mentioned the severe weather side of the system, and then we're going to look deeper into the snowfall totals and the ice totals, as those also, again, like I said, looked very devastating for the northern plains, for the Great Lakes, and even for the Intermountain West. So first of all, the severe weather is not going to come from this trough up here to the northwest. This is, again, for Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning, but it's going to be coming from the trough down here in Southern California. This is going to eject into the plains by Wednesday. As you can see here on the vorticity map, a well illustration from Tropical Tidbits that's puts this together. So we can see by Wednesday morning, this is where that trough is going to be, that energetic, stretched out vorticity. Out ahead of it, we got height falls. We got wind shear, we got kinematics that are going to come into favor for this. We got the moisture that is going to be present. So unfortunately, another severe weather day is anticipated. And the Storm Prediction Center does illustrate that pretty nicely from Wednesday morning into Thursday morning. This is the day 5 probability outlook from the SPC, illustrating a 15% chance of severe weather for central northern Louisiana, central western Mississippi, and central and southern Arkansas, including for the eastern half most of Texas. So the Arklatex area definitely under the gun here, potentially for another round of severe weather, including possible tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail. So now, what about those snow totals you may be all curious about? Well, it's looking pretty bad. Okay, we're gonna be talking a lot about snowfall, spinouts, blizzard conditions. It's going to be a mess, and it's gonna be a roller coaster. Let's first take a look at the western half of the U.S. Some of the mountains here of Oregon, Washington could see as much as 2 to 4 feet of snowfall. In western Montana, the mountains there of northern Rockies could see as much as 2 to 4 feet of snow, maybe even 5 feet in the highest elevations. Most areas, though, below the peaks and the mountains there will likely see about 1 to 2 feet. But not only that, look at the plains, look at the Great Lakes here, might see as much as 1 to 2 feet of snowfall. There's a little area here, even in southern Minnesota and portions here near right on the border there of South Dakota and Minnesota, might see as much as 2 to almost 3 feet of snowfall based on the European, and it's been consistent for several model runs already. The Great Lakes in Wisconsin, maybe 1 to 2 feet of snowfall, including maybe 1 to 2 feet of snowfall for the extreme northeast. So this whole ribbon here, just alone from that one storm system, could really wreak a lot of havoc, and I'm pretty concerned about that. Not only that, we are keeping an eye also on the freezing rain accumulations, as the European model is showing anywhere between about 1/10 of an inch to maybe 1/2 an inch of freezing rain all the way from, say, central Iowa into southern Wisconsin. Chicago could be on the crosshairs of seeing maybe 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain. Look at this. Central and southern Michigan, yeah, you might see as much as 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain if this pans out. Again, this is very tricky situation to getting these amounts, so whatever you see on the screen, probably not going to happen, but we will see some ice depending on how this all sets up. Northern Indiana, northwestern Ohio, maybe as much as between about 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, and maybe up to 1/2 an inch of ice and sleet accumulations over central New York and western New York State, including for Buffalo and Watertown, New York. Power outages, yes, due to the strong winds and freezing rain, will really lead to numerous widespread power outages that are anticipated with that. On top of that, there's also going to be some sleet, anywhere between about 1/2 an inch to maybe an inch, all the way from Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, central Michigan, into the New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and southern Maine, also likely to get some sleet and freezing rain in the mix. Also along to go with snow too, so it's really going to be nasty. I mean, if this actually ends up panning out, you can bet on some big time road problems and travel issues, not only on the ground, but also in the air. Significant delays, possible flight cancellations cannot be ruled out with this winter storm too. So those temperature anomalies will be extreme. That's another thing with this winter storm. You thought it was cold already in the northern tier of the United States in the next 3 days. Just wait until we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, and even towards the end of next week. It's looking very, very significant. We're talking wind chill values that could be downright cold into the -30 to -40 degree range. So yeah, make sure you have those heavy coats ready because it's going to get cold. Let's go right through that, right? So this is a look at Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning. Look at these temperature anomalies. Big time temperature gradient, 20 to 30 degrees above normal in the Midwest. In the Deep South, the southeastern U.S., we're talking record high temperatures potentially in these areas. On the other side of the U.S., here to the northern tier in the northwest U.S., we're looking at temperatures 25 to 30 degrees below normal, and that continues. Look at this. My goodness. By Thursday morning, 5 days out, 25 to 35 degrees above normal. So, yes, Ethan, James Treft, if you are in Pennsylvania, anyone, if you're complaining about how warm it is, that's understandable because you're going to have well above average temperatures. Look at this for Georgia, for the Carolinas, 25 to 35 degrees above normal. Look at that temperature gradient there. That continues to be a really big problem. So very, very warm. Winter heat wave anticipated for the southeast, and this continues all the way into by the weekend. So all the way into February the 25th, you're talking about temperatures that are going to be extremely warm. Just to show you how extreme this weather pattern will be, let's take a look at those air temperatures for Thursday afternoon. You go from the 80s, yes, we're talking low to mid 90s in Florida and southernmost Texas. You go across the nation into Montana, negative 10 to negative 25 degrees below zero. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty significant. Nearly over 100 plus degree temperature gradient change between the Deep South and the Southeast into the northern tier of the United States, including for Canada. And if that's not extreme enough, let's go up into Hudson Bay, where temperatures are going to be 25 to 40 degrees below zero on Thursday. So, yeah, you thought winter was over yet. Well, might want to rethink that for the middle to the end of the week because another blast of cold air is coming. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, and leave an awesome comment in the section below this video. And yes, hit that like button too. So now taking a look at that 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook, it is really extreme. I mean, we're going from 80 to 90% above normal chances in across the Midwest and the Southeast to 80 to 90%, even 100% below average chance for temperatures across the western half of the U.S. I mean, that is the darkest blue shading you could possibly get on this temperature probability outlook map issued by the Climate Prediction Center, and that takes us into the 8 to 14 day temperature probability outlook. Still leaning and likely below average across the west, leaning and likely above average across the eastern U.S. So yes, I guess the winter heat wave is not ending anytime soon just yet. For the people that are liking these warm temperatures, it is going to only get warmer for the next couple of weeks. So here's a look at the precipitation outlook. Leaning above average chances for the west, while leaning above average chances also for the Great Lakes and for the eastern seaboard, leaning below average chances for rainfall or snowfall for the Deep South and for portions of the high plains. That goes all the way to the 8 to 14 day outlook, where you are leaning and likely above over California and Nevada, leaning above average chances for rainfall for the Great Lakes and for the upper Midwest. Leaning below average chances for precipitation for the Deep South and for the Southeast. But anyways, if you found this video very helpful and informative, hit that red subscribe button right now if you enjoyed it, and also hit the like button and share this video with your family and friends on social media. You all have been doing really good at getting the word out to people because this monster right here is nothing to mess with, and I will keep you all updated every single day on this YouTube channel. We might be even doing blockbuster doubleheader uploads on Monday and Tuesday ahead of this monster beast winter storm for the middle of this upcoming work week. Stay tuned for more updates on this channel.